Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to kick off today's presentation on the animal kingdom. Today, we'll explore the fascinating diversity of animals and their classifications. You'll hear about the main groups, their characteristics, and how they relate to each other. Let's get started and uncover the wonders of the animal world together. Let's take a closer look at the various phyla that make up the animal kingdom. Starting with phylum Porifera, these are the sponges, simple aquatic animals with porous bodies. Moving on to phylum Cnidaria, which includes jellyfish, corals, and sea anemones, characterized by their stinging cells and radial symmetry. Next is phylum Platyhelminthes, the flatworms, known for their flat, soft bodies. Then we have phylum Aschelmintes, which are the roundworms, cylindrical in shape and often parasitic. Continuing, phylum Mollusca covers a wide range of soft-bodied animals like snails, clams, and squids. Phylum Annelida includes segmented worms such as earthworms and leeches. Moving to phylum Hemichordata, which are small, worm-like marine animals related to chordates. Then, phylum Echinodermata, which includes starfish and sea urchins, marine animals with radial symmetry and a unique water vascular system. Next is phylum Ctenophora, commonly known as comb jellies, which are transparent and move using cilia arranged in rows. Phylum Arthropoda is the largest and most diverse, including insects, spiders, and crustaceans, characterized by their exoskeleton and jointed limbs. And finally, phylum Chordata, which includes all animals with a notochord at some stage, like fish, birds, mammals, and reptiles. All of these phyla are important because they help us understand the diversity of life and the basis of classifying organisms. The classification is primarily based on key features like body structure, symmetry, and developmental stages, which reveal evolutionary relationships among organisms. And with that overview, we come to the end of this slide. Thank you so much for your attention. Let's start by looking at some of the key features we use to classify organisms. First is the presence of a notochord, which is a flexible rod that runs along the back of some animals. It's a crucial feature because it provides support and is a characteristic of chordates. Next, we consider the type of symmetry an organism has. Symmetry refers to how an organism's body parts are arranged, and it can be bilateral, radial, or asymmetrical. This helps us understand how the organism interacts with its environment and moves. Then, we look at the presence of a coelom, or body cavity. A coelom is a fluid-filled cavity that lies between the body wall and the internal organs. It plays a vital role in the development of complex body structures and organ systems. Finally, we examine the levels of organization, which range from simple cellular arrangements to complex tissues and organ systems. All these features, notochord, symmetry, coelom, and levels of organization, are fundamental in how we classify different organisms. They help us understand their structure, function, and evolutionary relationships, which is a core part of understanding biodiversity and the diversity of life on Earth. Let's take a closer look at segmentations. This is a fundamental concept because it helps us understand how we can divide a larger whole into smaller, more manageable parts. When we talk about segmentation, we're essentially breaking down complex data or populations into distinct groups based on specific characteristics. This process is crucial because it allows us to tailor our strategies, whether we're targeting a specific customer group or analyzing different sections of a dataset. The key point here is that segmentation enhances our ability to make informed decisions by focusing on the unique aspects of each segment. As we connect this to the overall theme, remember that effective segmentation is at the heart of personalized approaches and optimized resource allocation. It's about understanding diversity within the data or audience, which ultimately leads to more effective outcomes. Let's take a closer look at some examples of sponges. You can see Euspongilla, Cycon, and Spongilla. These are common types of sponges, and they help us understand the diversity within this group. Moving on to the skeleton, it's primarily made up of tiny structural elements called spicules. These spicules provide support and shape to the sponge, making them unique compared to other aquatic animals. Now, regarding how water moves through these organisms, there's a specific pathway for water to exit the sponge. This is called the osculum, which is essentially the main opening at the top through which water leaves after circulating through the sponge's body. Inside, there's a central cavity called the spongicle. Water enters through tiny pores in the body called ostia, flows into this central cavity, and then exits through the osculum. This continuous flow is vital for their survival. Speaking of tiny pores, these ostia are small openings that allow water to enter the sponge's body. They are crucial because they enable the sponge to filter water efficiently, capturing food particles and oxygen. Let's now focus on some key features of sponges. Their digestion process is intracellular, meaning they digest food inside their individual cells rather than through a digestive system as we know it. Sponges reproduce both sexually and asexually. Sexually, they produce gametes, sperm and eggs, and fertilization is external and indirect. Asexually, they can regenerate or reproduce through fragmentation, which helps them survive and spread. The water that flows through the sponge isn't just for feeding. It also plays a vital role in transporting food and removing waste products. Plus, this water flow supports respiratory exchange, meaning it helps with oxygen intake and carbon dioxide removal. Finally, understanding the overall organization, sponges are cellular-level organisms, and they are asymmetrical, meaning they don't have a regular body plan like bilateral symmetry. They are also classified as acolymates, which means they lack a true body cavity. All these features connect to the overall theme of how simple yet effective these organisms are in their aquatic environments, showcasing the basic characteristics of the phylum Porifera. Yes, let's start with their physical form. These animals can be either sessile, meaning they attach themselves to a surface, or free-living, where they move around freely in their aquatic habitats. Yes, they exhibit a simple body plan that is diploblastic, having two primary tissue layers, ectoderm and endoderm, which is fundamental to understanding their structure. Yes, they display radial symmetry, which means their body parts are arranged around a central axis, making them well-suited to their aquatic environment. They possess specialized cells called cnidoblasts, which contain cnidocysts, stinging structures used for capturing prey and defense. The name Cnidaria is actually derived from these characteristic cells, highlighting their importance. Most of these creatures are marine and aquatic, living in oceans or freshwater environments, which influences their adaptations and behaviors. Their organization is at the tissue level, meaning they have distinct tissues but no true organs yet. And they are classified as acolymates, so they lack a true body cavity or coelom, which again reflects their simple body structure. All these features come together under the basic characteristics of the phylum Coelenterata, or Cnidaria, giving us a clear picture of their simple yet fascinating biology. These points are essential because they help us understand how these organisms survive and thrive in their aquatic worlds, serving as a foundation for more complex animal studies. Let's talk about digestion in these organisms. Interestingly, digestion occurs both intracellularly and extracellularly, meaning that some digestion happens inside the cells, while other processes take place outside the cells in the gastrovascular cavity. This dual approach allows for efficient nutrient absorption and processing. Speaking of the gastrovascular cavity, these creatures have a central cavity that serves as both a digestive chamber and a distribution system for nutrients. It's a key feature that supports their survival and feeding strategies. Now, moving on to their reproductive strategies, they display an alternation of generations, a fascinating process known as metagenesis. Here, the polyp reproduces asexually, creating medusa, and then the medusa reproduces sexually to form new polyps. This cycle helps them adapt and thrive in different environments. They exist in two main forms, polyp and medusa. Each form has distinct features and roles, but both are part of their complex life cycle. The polyp is usually sessile, attached to a surface, while the medusa is free-swimming. Understanding these forms and their reproductive modes is crucial because it highlights their adaptability and how they sustain their populations across generations. It's a beautifully coordinated system that underpins their survival. Let's talk about their unique ability to emit their own light, which is a fascinating feature of these creatures. This bioluminescence makes them stand out in the marine environment. Moving on, they have 8 external rows of ciliated comb plates, which are essential for their movement. These comb plates beat in a coordinated way, allowing them to glide smoothly through the water. Yes, they do exhibit radial symmetry, meaning their body parts radiate out from a central point, which is common in many marine organisms. When it comes to digestion, they have both intracellular and extracellular processes, giving them a flexible way to break down food efficiently. Only sexual reproduction occurs in these animals, which is quite interesting because it ensures genetic diversity. And yes, they are predominantly found in marine environments, so they are common in oceans and seas. Their organization level is tissue, indicating they have specialized tissues but not true organs. They are also acoelomates, meaning they lack a body cavity, which influences their overall body structure. Commonly, you might hear them called sea walnuts or comb jellies, names that reflect their appearance and nature. Lastly, they belong to the phylum Ctenophora, which groups them together with similar creatures in the marine ecosystem, highlighting their importance in oceanic biodiversity. Let's take a closer look at some examples of ctenophores, specifically C. Ctenoplana and Pleurobratia. These are 2 fascinating genera that help us understand the diversity within this group. C. Ctenoplana is known for its elongated body and distinctive ciliary combs, which it uses for movement. Pleurobratia, on the other hand, is often called the sea gooseberry, and it has a more rounded shape with beautiful, bioluminescent features. Recognizing these examples is important because they illustrate the variety in form and function among ctenophores. As we continue, keep in mind how these differences contribute to their survival and ecological roles in marine environments. Now let's look at some key features of phylum Platyhelminthes, or flatworms. First, it's important to note that digestion in these organisms is incomplete. That means they have a simple digestive system with only one opening, so food enters and waste exits through the same structure. Moving on, these organisms belong to the organ system level of organization, which indicates a higher level of complexity compared to cellular or tissue levels. Unlike many other worms, they don't have segmented bodies, except for tapeworms, which are an exception to this rule. Speaking of body structure, flatworms have a body that is dorsoventrally flattened, meaning they are flat from top to bottom. This shape helps them absorb nutrients efficiently across their body surface. Now, an interesting feature is that they possess specialized cells called flame cells. These cells are crucial because they help in osmoregulation, maintaining the balance of water and salts, and excretion, which is removing waste products. When it comes to reproduction, flatworms exhibit some fascinating traits. They have internal fertilization, meaning sperm is transferred inside the body of a partner, and they are hermaphrodites, so each individual has both male and female reproductive organs. Their symmetry is bilateral, which means their body has a left and right side that are mirror images. This symmetry is important for movement and sensory functions. Lastly, they are tripoblastic, developing with 3 germ layers during embryonic development, which gives them more complexity in their tissues and organs. And as a common name, we often refer to these as flatworms because of their characteristic flattened bodies. This group falls under the phylum Platyhelminthes, which ties all these features together and helps us understand their biology better. Today, I want to highlight a couple of important examples of parasitic worms, the tapeworm and the liver fluke. These are common parasites that can affect humans and animals alike. The tapeworm, for instance, is a flat, segmented worm that lives in the intestines, often acquired through contaminated food or water. It can grow quite large and may cause nutritional deficiencies or other health issues if not treated. On the other hand, the liver fluke is a small flatworm that primarily infects the liver, usually through ingestion of contaminated water plants or raw fish. Both of these parasites illustrate the diversity of parasitic worms and their ability to adapt to different environments within the host. Recognizing these examples helps us understand the importance of proper food handling and sanitation in preventing parasitic infections. They are perfect illustrations of how parasitic worms can impact health and why ongoing vigilance is essential. Now let's take a closer look at phylum Aschelminths, commonly known as roundworms. One of their key features is that fertilization is internal, meaning the sperm and egg meet inside the female's body. Their development is direct, so they don't go through any larval stages, which simplifies their growth process. They have excretory tubes for excretion, which are part of their excretory system, helping them eliminate waste efficiently. Yes, they do possess a complete alimentary canal, which means they have a mouth and an anus, allowing for a one-way flow of food. This canal includes a muscular pharynx, aiding in ingestion and digestion. In terms of body symmetry, they exhibit bilateral symmetry, which is typical for many animals, allowing for streamlined movement and sensory processing. Their habitat is quite versatile. They can be free-living, terrestrial, or aquatic, adapting to various environments. Reproductively, they reproduce sexually only, and interestingly, the female body is generally longer than the male's. They are dioecious, meaning they have separate sexes, which is important for their reproductive strategies. Looking at their organization, they are tripoblastic, with 3 germ layers, and they are pseudocollimates, possessing a body cavity that isn't fully lined with mesoderm. This gives them a round, circular cross-section, which is why they are often called roundworms. Lastly, their size is quite small, but their significance in ecosystems and as parasites is substantial. To sum up, these features, internal fertilization, complete digestive systems, bilateral symmetry, and their body structure, all contribute to their success in diverse habitats and their role in the animal kingdom. Let's take a closer look at the phylum Annelida and some of its key features. First, these organisms can be either monoecious, like earthworms, meaning they have both male and female reproductive organs in the same individual, or dioecious, like Nereis, which have separate sexes. This diversity in reproductive strategies is quite fascinating. Speaking of reproduction, they can be hermaphroditic or separate sexes, which adds to their adaptability in different environments. Moving on to their body symmetry, annelids exhibit bilateral symmetry, which means their body can be divided into mirror image halves along one plane. This is crucial for coordinated movement. Their muscular system is also specialized. They possess both circular and longitudinal muscles. This arrangement enables them to move efficiently through their environment, whether it's burrowing in soil or swimming in water. This muscle structure is fundamental for their locomotion. Annelids are coelomates, meaning they have a true body cavity, which provides space for organ development and allows for more complex body functions. Inside, they have nephridia, specialized organs for osmoregulation and excretion, helping them maintain internal balance, especially in varying habitats. Regarding habitat, these creatures are quite versatile. They can be aquatic, marine, or terrestrial. For example, aquatic species like Nereis have parapodia, which are lateral appendages that aid in movement through water, making their locomotion more effective. In summary, annelids have segmented bodies, which are a hallmark of their body plan, allowing flexibility and specialization of segments. They are also tripoblastic, meaning their body develops from 3 germ layers during embryonic development, which supports the complexity of their organ systems. Finally, their overall organization is at the organ system level, indicating a higher level of complexity compared to simpler organisms. All these features together highlight how adaptable and specialized annelids are within the animal kingdom. Today, I'll be talking about some common examples of annelids, which are fascinating segmented worms. First up is the earthworm, specifically Ferritima, which is one of the most well-known terrestrial worms. These worms play an important role in soil aeration and nutrient recycling. Next, we have Nereis, a marine worm that lives in the ocean. Nares is a great example of an annelid adapted to aquatic life, often found in sandy or muddy seabeds. Finally, there's the leech, or Hirudinaria, which is famous for its blood-sucking behavior. Leeches are interesting because they've evolved specialized adaptations for feeding on hosts. These examples highlight the diversity within the annelid group, spanning terrestrial, marine, and freshwater environments, and they help us understand the various ways these worms have adapted to their habitats. The body of arthropods is divided into three main parts: the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. This segmentation is a key feature that helps in their classification and understanding their body structure. Yes, body segmentation is a significant characteristic of this phylum. Moving on, arthropods are considered cosmopolitan, meaning they are found all over the world, in a wide range of habitats. This widespread distribution highlights their adaptability and success as a group. They also exhibit bilateral symmetry, which means their body can be divided into mirror image halves along a single plane. This symmetry is important for movement and sensory integration. In addition, they are coelomates, which means they have a true body cavity lined with mesodermal tissue. This feature allows for better organization and development of their internal organs. Arthropods are trypoblastic, meaning their bodies develop from three primary germ layers: ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. This is typical of complex animals and supports their diverse organ systems. Speaking of organization, they have a high level of organ system organization, making them quite complex compared to simpler invertebrates. And perhaps most notably, arthropods are the largest phylum in the animal kingdom. Their diversity and adaptability have allowed them to thrive in almost every environment on Earth. So, in summary, the key features we see in this slide, from body segmentation to their vast diversity, all point to why arthropods are such an important and successful group in the animal kingdom. Let's take a closer look at some of the sensory organs these creatures use to interact with their environment. First, we have antennae, which are often quite simple in structure, but serve important functions like detecting chemicals, vibrations, and even temperature. Some species have more complex antennae, which can help them pick up a wider range of signals from their surroundings. Next, we see the eyes. These can be either simple or compound. Simple eyes usually have a single lens and provide basic visual information, like light intensity and direction. Compound eyes, on the other hand, are made up of many tiny units called ommatidia, giving a broader field of view and better motion detection, which is especially useful for insects. Finally, statocysts. These are not eyes but sensory organs that help organisms maintain their balance and orientation in space. They detect gravity and acceleration, acting like internal accelerometers. Overall, these sensory organs are crucial for survival. They help animals find food, avoid predators, navigate their environment, and maintain their balance. Understanding these structures gives us insight into how animals interpret their world and adapt to their habitats. Excretion through Malpighian tubes is a fascinating process that some insects use to get rid of waste. These tubes are little finger-like structures that extend from the digestive system into the body cavity. They play a crucial role in filtering waste products from the hemolymph, which is the insect's equivalent of blood. What makes this system efficient is that it allows the insect to conserve water, which is especially important in dry environments. The Malpighian tubes extract nitrogenous wastes, like uric acid, and then deposit them into the digestive tract to be expelled along with feces. This method of excretion is especially interesting because it highlights how insects have adapted their excretory systems to their specific needs, balancing waste removal with water conservation. It's a perfect example of how different organisms evolve unique solutions to life's challenges, fitting into the broader theme of how diverse life forms manage their internal environments. Development can occur either directly or indirectly, depending on the species and their life cycle. When we talk about respiratory organs, you'll notice a variety such as gills, book lungs, and the tracheal system, each adapted to different environments and organisms. These organisms typically have jointed legs, which are a key feature of their exoskeleton and mobility. Most of them possess an open circulatory system, meaning their blood flows freely within body cavities, which is quite different from the closed system seen in vertebrates. Additionally, they are mostly dioecious, so individuals are either male or female, which influences their reproductive strategies. Speaking of reproduction and development, these processes are essential for their survival and evolutionary success. The way they develop can vary greatly, but understanding these key points helps us appreciate the diversity and adaptability of these creatures. All of these features tie back to the overall theme of how these organisms have evolved specialized structures and reproductive methods to thrive in their environments. Let's take a closer look at some of the most well-known insects that play vital roles in various ecosystems. First, we have the locust. These insects are famous for their swarming behavior and remarkable capacity to form massive groups that can cause extensive damage to crops. They serve as a reminder of how insects can impact agriculture and food security. Next, there's the cockroach. Often misunderstood and sometimes viewed as pests, cockroaches are incredibly resilient and have been around for millions of years. They play a role in breaking down organic matter, helping recycle nutrients back into the environment. Then we have the honeybee. Perhaps the most well-known pollinator, honeybees are essential for pollinating many of the fruits, vegetables, and flowers we enjoy. Their ability to produce honey also highlights their importance in both natural ecosystems and human agriculture. Finally, the silkworm. This insect is famous for its silk production, which has been valued by humans for thousands of years. Silkworms exemplify how insects can be harnessed for economic purposes, providing us with materials like silk that have cultural and commercial significance. Together, these insects illustrate the diverse roles that insects can play, from ecological functions to economic contributions, highlighting their importance in our world. Now, let's look at some of the distinctive features of phylum Mollusca. One key characteristic is the presence of a file-like rasping organ called the radula. This structure is used by many mollusks for scraping food from surfaces, which is quite fascinating. Moving on, these organisms typically have inner soft bodies, but are protected by outer hard shells, giving them a unique body structure that combines softness with durability. In terms of organization, they are at the organ system level, meaning their body parts work together as integrated systems to carry out vital functions. Most of these animals are dioecious, so they have separate sexes, which is important for their reproductive strategies. They also exhibit bilateral symmetry, where their body can be divided into two mirror image halves, providing them with coordinated movement and body plan symmetry. Their body is divided into distinct parts: a muscular foot used for movement, a visceral hump containing vital organs, and a head with tentacles, which are often sensory in function. Furthermore, they are tripoblastic, meaning their bodies develop from 3 primary germ layers during embryonic development. Their body division includes the presence of a coelom, which is a true body cavity that allows for the development and suspension of organs, making their body structure more complex and organized. Lastly, phylum Mollusca is the second largest phylum in the animal kingdom, highlighting its incredible diversity and abundance of species. So overall, these features collectively help us understand the complexity and adaptability of mollusks within the animal kingdom. Let's take a closer look at some fascinating examples within the cephalopod family. First, we have the octopus, which is perhaps the most well-known and intriguing. They are incredibly intelligent, with remarkable problem-solving skills and the ability to change color and texture almost instantly. Next is the pile, which might be a typo or perhaps a lesser-known term, but if we're referring to a specific cephalopod, it highlights the diversity within this group. Moving on, cephalopods as a whole are a diverse class that includes not just octopuses, but also squids, cuttlefishes, and more. Each of these has unique adaptations that help them survive in their environments. Lastly, we have cuttlefishes, which are particularly interesting because of their internal shell called the cuttlebone, aiding in buoyancy control. Together, these examples underscore the incredible adaptability and diversity of cephalopods in the marine world, fitting into our overall theme of evolutionary innovation and adaptation. Let's take a closer look at phylum Echinodermata. First off, yes, these animals are dioecious, meaning they have distinct male and female individuals. An interesting feature is that their head is absent, which sets them apart from many other organisms. Instead, they have a central body without a defined head region. Moving on, their level of organization is organ system, indicating that they have specialized systems working together to perform vital functions. One of the key features is the presence of a water vascular system. This unique system not only helps in movement and feeding, but also plays a role in respiration and excretion. Speaking of symmetry, echinoderms exhibit bilateral symmetry during their larval stage, which is typical for many invertebrates. But as adults, they develop radial symmetry, which is common in creatures like sea stars and sea urchins. Another important point is that they lack an excretory organ, which means they rely on diffusion for waste removal. They are tripoblastic, developing from 3 germ layers, and are coelomates, possessing a true body cavity. Their structure is characterized by an endoskeleton made up of calcareous ossicles, which is why they are called echinodermata. Echino meaning spiny and derma meaning skin, referring to their spiny, calcareous outer covering. Finally, this phylum is classified as number 10 in the taxonomy of animal kingdoms, highlighting its distinct features and evolutionary importance. All these traits together give echinoderms their unique place in the animal kingdom, showcasing a fascinating combination of simplicity and complexity. Now let's take a closer look at some specific examples of starfish. Here we have the genus Asterias, which is quite well known, and then Ophiura, which is actually a brittle star. These examples help illustrate the diversity within echinoderms. Asterias, the common starfish, typically has 5 arms, but some species can have more, and it plays a vital role in its ecosystem as a predator. Ophiura, on the other hand, belongs to a different class called Ophiuroidea, and it has a more slender, flexible body compared to Asterias. Recognizing these differences helps us understand how echinoderms have adapted to various environments. These examples underscore the diversity within this phylum and highlight how different species can look quite distinct but still share fundamental characteristics. Remember, whether it's the familiar starfish or the more delicate brittle star, they all exemplify the fascinating adaptations of echinoderms in marine ecosystems. Let's explore some key features of Hemichordata. They have cylindrical bodies, which gives them a distinctive shape in their group. Their body is divided into 3 main parts: the proboscis, a collar, and a trunk, each serving different functions. This division is important because it helps us understand their structure and how they live. Regarding symmetry, they exhibit bilateral symmetry, meaning their body can be divided into mirror image halves. This is a common trait among many animals, especially those with a more active lifestyle. They are also dioecious, so individual organisms are either male or female, which has implications for their reproduction. One of the most significant features is the presence of a notochord at some stages of their life. The notochord is a flexible, rod-like structure that provides support, and its presence links them to other chordic groups. Their organ system level of organization means they have a well-developed body system to perform various functions efficiently. For excretion, they use a proboscis gland, which helps eliminate waste, highlighting an interesting adaptation. Hemichordates are coelomates, meaning they have a true body cavity, which is important for their internal organization and organ development. Lastly, they are tripoblastic, developing from 3 germ layers during embryonic development, a key feature in understanding their complexity. All these points together give us a clearer picture of Hemichordata's unique position in the animal kingdom, bridging some features of invertebrates and chordates. Let's take a look at Balanoglossus, which is an interesting example in our study. Balanoglossus belongs to the phylum Hemichordata, and it provides valuable insights into the evolution of chordates. When we examine its structure, you'll notice features that resemble both annelids and chordates, making it a key transitional organism. Its body is divided into 3 parts: proboscis, collar, and trunk, which are important for its feeding and locomotion. Balanoglossus demonstrates the presence of pharyngeal gill slits, a characteristic feature of chordates, even though it lacks a notochord. Understanding balanoglossus helps us appreciate the evolutionary links and the diversity within the animal kingdom. It's a perfect example of how complexity can arise from simpler ancestors in evolutionary history. Let's take a closer look at some of the defining features of phylum Chordata. First, you'll notice the presence of paired pharyngeal gill slits. These are crucial for filter feeding and respiration in many chordates. Moving on, the central nervous system, or CNS, is dorsal, meaning it's located along the backside, and it's hollow and single, forming a key part of the nervous system structure. Next, the notochord is present in these animals. This flexible rod provides support and is a hallmark characteristic of chordates. When we consider the level of organization, chordates are organized at the organ system level, which means their body functions are compartmentalized into specialized organs and systems. Another important feature is the postanal tail. This tail extends beyond the anus and is often used for movement or balance, especially in aquatic species. Regarding the heart, it is ventral, located on the belly side, which is typical for chordates. All these features, the gill slits, dorsal hollow nerve cord, notochord, postanal tail, and ventral heart, really highlight the complexity and distinctive anatomy of chordates. Finally, these animals are tripoblastic, meaning they develop from 3 germ layers, and they exhibit bilateral symmetry, which is symmetry along a central axis. And they are coelomates, meaning they have a true body cavity that surrounds and is derived from the mesoderm. Altogether, these characteristics help us understand the organization and evolutionary relationships within the phylum Chordata. Let's take a closer look at the notochord at different stages and how it relates to the vertebral column in adulthood. In vertebrates, the notochord is a key feature during embryonic development, providing structural support and signaling cues. Interestingly, in some groups like vertebrata, the notochord persists throughout life, although it often becomes replaced by the vertebral column as the organism matures. Now, in the case of cephalochordata, we see that the notochord is present during the larval stage, but these animals are hermaphrodites, meaning they possess both reproductive organs. Then, moving to Urochordata, the notochord is typically present only during the larval stage as well. These organisms are usually dioecious, having separate sexes, and they lose the notochord as they develop into the adult form. Connecting this to the overall theme, these differences highlight how the notochord's role and presence vary across the subphyla of Chordata, reflecting their unique evolutionary adaptations and developmental processes.